full disclosure, if I could, on these devices that speak to us, if we could actually use celebrity voices, I would definitely have one of my devices that would talk to me in the voice of Michael Caine. I would love nothing more than my cell phone to respond to me with Michael Caine's voice. So if AI technology can bring me that, that's the one thing I would be good with. Like Michael Caine trapped inside my phone. Welcome back. Click that subscribe button. Those are the kind of thoughts that I have. And I don't think many people have those thoughts. I'm a blind film critic, and I'm here to talk about another film. This film does not have audio description. But guess what? I have it on DVD. Oh my god, I'm holding up the DVD for The Prestige. Just Prestige DVD. Yeah, it's just the DVD and not the Blu-ray. I was cheap. A lot of times I saved money by buying the DVD and not the Blu-ray. This is around the time when you save money by buying DVDs instead of Blu-rays. And yes, I know. Fans out there are like, what? And I was like, I didn't really. It depended on your setup. Like, do you notice a massive difference based on how you're watching them? I didn't have the, I was poor. Likely because I have 1,000 DVDs. But I think I'd be less poor if I had less DVDs. However, valid. So, yes, I do own the Prestige, and it does not have audio description because for some reason we make physical media and don't send it home to people with audio description. I don't know. I just, the whole thing just baffles me. But I've started getting into this phase because I'm doing a podcast about Chris Nolan. I'm guesting on a podcast for some other people where we talk about Chris Nolan films, and I just wanted to brush up. And unfortunately, this is not on a streaming service currently when I needed it to be. So, pulled out the DVD. And so let's talk about the experience of watching The Prestige without audio description. Don't. I should say also, I'm going to put the 40 for 40 banner on this. And what that means is I'm turning 40 and I'm reviewing 40 of my favorite films of all time, which The Prestige does qualify as do actually quite a few Christopher Nolan films. So, but I want to know I want people to know how special The Prestige is to me, and I've seen it a bunch of times. This was like, I don't know, 7 probably, if I had to guess. Round 7 for me on The Prestige. So, this is a film that, by the way, absolutely gets better the second time around. Even though it kind of reveals to you right at the end, you do kind of want to go, I have to see that again. I have to see the layout. And when you see the layout and the more times you rewatch it, it just keeps coming more and more apart to where you're just like, this film was fucking brilliant. What am I doing here? He was doing this all the time. He's putting it right out in front. He's showing you the magic trick, and you just don't know you're being shown the magic trick. He's literally telling you the end of the movie, like throughout the film, and you just think it's part of the film, like it's part of the magic trick, but it's right there. It's one of the greatest things is that I love that about the magic trick is that sometimes the most simple magic tricks are not ones that are hidden, they're just sort of misdirection. And that's what he does with The Prestige is he uses misdirection, but he never hides anything from you. There are things when you rewatch this a second time where you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't see this. You don't know to look for it, but on the second time through, you're like, man, he even says it. Like, it's right there. It's just, and I guess, like, spoiler alert, but there's that scene with the pigeons, where he does the trick with replacing the pigeon, but the cage actually kills the pigeon that's in it, and then he just puts, like, another one in it. And that one kid, like, understands the trick, and it's like, where's his brother? And it's like, yup. And there's so many little times like that throughout the film where he is saying things like that, where things happen and it's quite obvious, where you're like, okay, he was telling us the whole time what's going on and we just didn't understand, we didn't get it. And then you get to the end of the film and you're like, wow. And then you go back and you're like, wow. So just phenomenal performances all around from everybody. This is a film that should have been up for more awards. This is a film that should have been considered. I'll stand by that. I know this was back in the days when we only had 5 Best Picture nominees, so I don't know. I'd have to look at the whole year and be like, does it deserve to be in the 5? I think it definitely deserved to be in contention for the 5. If there were 10, I would say, without a doubt, I can't think of 10 films that year that deserved it more. So, but yeah, I mean, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale both really deliver fantastic performances here. Actually, Scarlett Johansson's really pretty good too. Rebecca Hall is used in this, not quite to the extent that she is in some of her other things. I don't know if I would have given her a nomination that quickly. I don't think this is the film to nominate her for. And Michael Caine is great, as usual, as he always is. And even David Bowie comes into the film as Nikola Tesla and really gives kind of an interesting performance. So there's a lot happening here and a lot going on. And this is a film to pay attention to. The problem is, without audio description, it's really kind of hard to pay attention to it. And the film is kind of jumping around a little bit in terms of its timeline and what it's showing you and going back and forth. It's not necessarily linear. So it does like to circle back around and be like, well, this is how this really happened. We only showed you this part, but this is really the complete scene of everything that happened. Or it shows you it from a new angle. So he showed you what he wanted you to see at the time, and later on he wants you to see the whole thing. So a lot of scenes are repeated with like new information, but it's hard to pick up on what that new information is, especially when it's visual, if you're not getting the audio description. I'm not even sure how much the ending works without audio description when you find out, you know, that he's a twin, and it goes back through and shows you all of the moments, including, you know, having to remove the fingers, like, all because of the bullet catch, and how they were 2 people sharing one life, and they had different opinions about their wife and their daughter, and just the whole thing. It just it's so interesting. And there are a lot of things that happen with trapdoors in this, where they trust the trapdoor is going to give them exactly what they want underneath it, and that's very much not true a couple times in the film. So I think that's really hard to understand if you're not following it. So yeah, it time jumps. There's the whole thing with the teleportation when Jackman goes to visit Tesla, and he sees all the hats, you know. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of missed because there's nobody there to point out the hats in that moment, and just kind of like how many there actually are. You know, it's not like he doesn't just stop and go, oh my God, that looks like there's about 80 hats over there. So that, just in the middle of the woods, where did those hats come from? He doesn't just like draw massive amounts of attention, because Chris Nolan or Jonathan Nolan, depending on the film, is always, they're good writers. They understand how to formulate a script. So they're not gonna do something really stupid with the dialogue just so that we can all understand it. And the film doesn't need audio description. Some films are like that, though. Some films, everything is just explained to you in dialogue. This is not that film. It is a fantastic film though, and it's one of my favorites. And I think it's the Nolan film that I think people forget about. Like it's like the underrated gem. I think it's easy to praise so many of the other films. I think people are like, oh my god, Dark Knight, oh my god, Interstellar, oh my god, Oppenheimer, oh my god, Memento. But this kind of falls like Insomnia, level where people are like, did you remember he directed this? But for me, I remember he directed The Prestige because I loved The Prestige ever since I first saw it. And to me, I think it shows a hell of a lot of skill from Chris Nolan. And I would love to see him do more films like this. He loves to do loud and bombastic, but damn is he good at this. This follows along the same lines of Memento, where he's telling you the story as he wants you to learn it. And the payoff is so totally worth it. So, as far as would I tell a blind person to watch this without audio description? Hell to the no. Find the audio description or wait for it to come to a service. Unfortunately, I was getting ready to do a podcast, so I had to pull out my DVD, which does not have audio description, so I could at least refamiliarize myself once again and come in fresh with fresh thoughts. But it was not a great experience for me. This film does not really work without audio description. It's not quite as bad as Inception was. It does have more dialogue. And again, I've seen this a bunch of times, so like I remembered when people fell, what was happening. But I don't know that if you were watching this your first time through that you would be like, well, I don't know. So if you've never seen it, watch it. I kind of spoiled everything for you, but I honestly think the journey, as cool as it is to be tricked at the end, I think the journey is actually in that second viewing. I think the second viewing where you get to see how once you've seen, it's like watching the magic trick the first time and being like, wow, how did he saw her in half? And then you watch it again and you see how he sawed her in half. I argue actually that the second viewing of The Prestige is more rewarding than the first. The first one, you just go, oh my God, what the hell? But the second viewing, you just go, Chris Nolan's a fucking genius. It's two different things. This film almost has to be watched twice. So, yeah, that's the true story. And I don't think you can get that without audio description. It's one of those really rare films where I would say you have to watch this twice because you get two totally different experiences out of it. But it is one of my favorite films of all time. So it's getting an A+. It's an untouchable for me. I love this film. Always will. Always have, always will. It's been long enough, too. This film came out in 2006. Feels right. Came out in 2006. So it's been, plenty long enough that I've marinated on it long enough to be able to call it one of my favorites of all time. So there you go. That's it. I will, I'll hope you subscribe, and I will continue to review more films. I have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You can go to my Twitter, Instagram, or Threads and follow me at Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and TV shows when they actually have audio description. Damn it, put it on these home video releases. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you on the other side.